Okay, here is the revised and expanded content for the Wisdom and Wealth YouTube channel, designed for an older audience and incorporating your specifications. Underscore 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 underscore. Welcome to Wisdom and Wealth, everyone. We're diving deep into a topic that affects all of us, especially as we navigate the complexities of life after 40, self-love and acceptance. It's a journey, not a destination. So many times, we're told to love others, but what about ourselves? If you're new to this channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Let's be honest, no matter how accomplished, intelligent, or well-intentioned we are, there will inevitably be times when we stumble, when we fall short of our expectations, or when we simply make mistakes. These are unavoidable parts of the human experience. And it's often in these moments that we turn our harshest criticism inward. We can beat ourselves up, dwelling on our perceived failures and imperfections, and engaging in a cycle of self-hatred. This self-hatred can be debilitating, affecting our mental health, our relationships, and our overall well-being. In extreme cases, it can even lead to tragic outcomes. But is this truly the way we should treat ourselves? Think about it. How many times do we tell our loved ones, our children, our partners, "I love you"? It's a phrase that comes easily, that flows freely from our lips. We express our appreciation and affection for others without hesitation. But how often do we turn that same sentiment inward? How often do we look in the mirror and say, "I love myself. I appreciate who I am, flaws and all"? For many of us, this is a much more difficult exercise. We're conditioned to focus on our shortcomings, to compare ourselves to others, and to strive for an often unattainable ideal. Liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth will bring you closer to Buddhist philosophy to bring value in your daily life. In Buddhist practice, a foundational principle is that true compassion and kindness begin with ourselves. The Buddha recognized that we cannot genuinely extend love and kindness to others if we are depleted, if we are filled with self-doubt and self-loathing. Our ability to care for others is intrinsically linked to our ability to care for ourselves. It's not about being selfish, it's about recognizing that we must first fill our own cup before we can pour out to others. The goal of this video is to provide some practical insights and strategies to help you break free from the cycle of self-hatred and cultivate a deeper sense of self-acceptance and appreciation. These are simple tools that we can all incorporate into our daily routines. Liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth is the first step to getting to understand Buddhist philosophy. Underscore 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 underscore. The first crucial step in transforming our relationship with ourselves is to challenge the labels we've attached to ourselves. Labels can be incredibly powerful, shaping our perceptions of who we are and what we're capable of. Think about it, even something as seemingly simple as your name is a label. It was given to you, likely by your parents, and it became the primary way that others identify and relate to you. Over time, it can become deeply intertwined with your sense of self. Similarly, we often apply labels to ourselves based on our imperfections, our mistakes, or our perceived inadequacies. We become masters at identifying our shortcomings and defining ourselves by them. We might tell ourselves, "I'm a person who's always angry," or "I have a weak mindset," or "I'm inherently lazy." We might believe that we're incapable of forming meaningful connections with others, that we're destined to be alone. The danger lies in the fact that the more we repeat these labels, the more they solidify into our perceived reality. They become self-fulfilling prophecies, limiting our potential and reinforcing negative patterns of behavior. However, here's the empowering truth: these labels are not fixed. They are not immutable truths etched in stone. They are simply thought patterns, beliefs that we've adopted and internalized over time. And like any thought pattern, they can be challenged, reframed, and ultimately changed. Remember, your perceived weaknesses, your past mistakes, your current limitations, they do not define you. They are merely temporary states, opportunities for growth and evolution. By consciously choosing to reject these limiting labels, we open ourselves up to the possibility of becoming something more, of evolving into the person we aspire to be. Secondly, it's essential to cultivate the ability to accept mistakes as an inherent part of the human experience. We live in a society that often glorifies perfection, setting unrealistic standards and fostering a fear of failure. But the truth is, mistakes are not signs of weakness. They are, in fact, evidence that we are actively engaging with life, that we are willing to take risks and push ourselves beyond our comfort zones. Think about it: every great innovator, every successful entrepreneur, every influential leader has made countless mistakes along the way. It's through these missteps, through the process of learning and adapting, that they have ultimately achieved their goals. Mistakes provide invaluable lessons, forcing us to examine our assumptions, refine our strategies, and develop resilience. They are opportunities for growth, for self-discovery, and for becoming a better version of ourselves. Remember, your mistakes do not define your character unless you allow them to. They are not a permanent stain on your record. You always have the power to learn from your errors, to make amends where necessary, and to move forward with a renewed sense of purpose. Do not let your past failures dictate your future. Embrace the opportunity to improve, to evolve, and to create a life that is aligned with your values and aspirations. Believe in your capacity for growth, and you will be amazed at what you can achieve. Wisdom and Wealth is here to empower and guide you. Please consider liking and subscribing. Underscore 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 underscore. The third vital step in nurturing self-love is to consciously stop the habit of constant self-criticism. This doesn't mean ignoring areas where you can improve. Here, we're not talking about constructive criticism, which aims to help us grow. We're talking about the harsh, negative, and often unproductive criticism that tears us down and erodes our self-worth. This also extends to criticizing others, as the energy we put out into the world often reflects back onto ourselves. Think about why we engage in negative criticism, both of ourselves and others. Often, it stems from a desire to feel superior, to reassure ourselves that we are somehow better or more competent. When we criticize others, we unconsciously send a message to our own minds that we are somehow more perfect, more worthy of success and happiness. However, this is a dangerous trap. It sets unrealistic standards for ourselves, creating an impossible bar to reach. And when we inevitably fail to meet these standards, we turn that same harsh criticism inward, leading to self-loathing and a diminished sense of self-value. Criticism, in this form, is a thief. It steals our joy, our peace of mind, and our ability to appreciate ourselves and others. By consciously choosing to stop this cycle of negativity, we create space for self-compassion, for understanding, and for genuine appreciation. Remember, everyone is on their own journey, and we all deserve kindness and respect, including ourselves. Wisdom and Wealth teaches that this self-respect will bring you closer to nirvana. Underscore 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 underscore. ________________________ Finally, we must learn to embrace the beauty of imperfection. This might seem counterintuitive in a world that relentlessly promotes flawless images and unattainable ideals. But the truth is, imperfection is not a flaw, it is an essential part of what makes us human, what makes us unique and interesting. Take a moment to observe the natural world. Look at a majestic mountain range, a delicate flower, or even a simple blade of grass. You'll notice that there is no perfect symmetry, no absolute replication. Everything is slightly different, slightly imperfect, and yet undeniably beautiful. It is in these imperfections that we find character, resilience, and a sense of authenticity. As humans, we are inherently imperfect beings. We make mistakes, we have flaws, and we experience a range of emotions, both positive and negative. It is in accepting these imperfections that we open ourselves up to growth, to learning, and to the possibility of becoming something more. Achieving success and attaining happiness is not about reaching a state of perfection, it's about embracing the journey, with all its twists and turns, its triumphs and setbacks. When you wake up each morning, make a conscious decision to embrace your imperfections, to accept yourself as you are, flaws and all. Tell yourself that no matter what mistakes you make throughout the day, you will not give up on yourself. You will continue to strive to become a better, happier, and more compassionate person. This is not selfishness, this is self-care, and it is essential for cultivating a fulfilling and meaningful life. When you truly love and accept yourself, imperfections and all, you create space for growth, for evolution, and for the realization of your full potential. Liking and subscribing will open the doors to a life filled with wisdom and wealth. These are just a few initial steps on the path to self-love and acceptance. By incorporating these principles into your daily life, you can begin to transform your relationship with yourself, cultivating a deeper sense of self-worth, resilience, and inner peace. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Underscore 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 underscore. Welcome everyone to another video. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the threefold practices in Buddhism. Now, no matter how the way that you are approaching the Buddhist teachings, these are the three practices that you need to practice in Buddhism. Okay. So, we are going to take a look at these things. Before understanding these three practices, we have to understand why we should practice these things. Okay. What is the goal and what is the ultimate goal of Buddhist teachings? Now, the ultimate goal of all the Buddhist teachings is to liberate your mind from unsatisfactoriness. Okay? Liberate your mind from all the sufferings in life. Okay? Because the Buddha said that the life is based on unsatisfactoriness. Okay. So once you have a deeper and a wiser understanding about your life, then you can liberate your mind from all the unsatisfactoriness in your life. Okay. So Buddha realized that to achieve this state, to enlighten your mind and to liberate your mind, you need to make some conditions and you have to practice your mind. So that is why Buddha introduced us these three practices to practice in our practical life in order to enlighten our mind. So without any further ado, let's dive into these practices. So the first practice in Buddhism is called Sealer. Now I have discussed about Sealer in an earlier video. You can watch it here. So basically the Sealer means the moral and ethical conduct, being disciplined from your body and from your words. Okay. So once you practice this Sealer, you can be disciplined from your body and from your words. Now Buddha understood that when we are living with people, the way we behave, right, the actions that we do from our body and the words that we speak will impact the lives of other people as well as us. Okay. It will impact the life of ourself, the way we behave and way we speak, and also it will highly influence the others' lives too, and that is why Buddha said, purify your conduct, do wholesome things from your body and from your words. So Sealer helps you to practice the verbal and the physical conduct in a moral and a more ethical and wholesome way. Okay. So in Sealer we have precepts basically for lay people like you. You have 5 precepts that you can protect. Okay. The first one is abstaining from killing beings. The Buddha says that stay away from killing beings. In that way you become disciplined from your body. Abstaining from stealing. Do not take others' possessions without their permissions, without the permissions of themselves, with the stealing mind. Okay. Once you protect that, you be disciplined from your body. And Buddha said that stay away from sexual misconduct. When you abstain from sexual misconduct you become disciplined from your body. And the Buddha said stay away from lying. Be disciplined from your words. Do not break the trust of others from your words. And finally, Buddha says stay away from intoxicating your body. Okay? Do not use intoxicants and other drugs. It will lead to harmful situations and harmful consequences in your life. So basically Buddha introduced us these 5 precepts to protect in your life. When you observe and when you protect these 5 precepts, you become disciplined from your body. Okay. So that is why Sealer helps you to be disciplined, to live a disciplined life. Why we should live a disciplined life? We should live a disciplined life to stay away from regrets. Because when you look at these 5 precepts, if you engage in these things, if you kill animals, if you steal others' possessions, if you commit sexual misconduct, if you lie and if you intoxicate yourself, what will happen? There are a lot of regret. There will be a lot of regrets in your life. And also there will be things that you have to worry about. That is why Buddha says stay away from these 5 things and you will live a regretless life. Okay. So that is the first practice. Moving on to the second practice, we have samadhi. Now samadhi can be translated as concentration or mental peacefulness inside your mind. Now remember, this samadhi is supported by the first practice that is called the Sealer. The Buddha said when you practice Sealer or when you live a moral and ethical life, what will happen? You will have less regrets in your mind. You will have no regrets in your mind. Once you have no regrets in your mind, what will happen? It will lead to the mental happiness. Because most of the people, they worry about the things that they have done in the past. Okay? Unwholesome things that they have done in the past. But once you live according to the precepts, once you live a virtuous life, then you can be happy about yourself and also your mind will be in a good and a happy state. That is why this samadhi is supported by the seal. Now why we need samadhi? Now we need samadhi to think clearly, because you know that when your mind is busy, when your mind is scattered and when it runs here and there, it is very difficult to think clearly. Now Buddha considered that thinking clearly and thinking freely is a great benefit to understand the reality of your life, and that is why we need to practice samadhi. For practicing samadhi, Buddha introduced many meditations. So one type of meditation is called samatha meditation. Sam meditations helps you to condense your mind and find that peacefulness inside your mind. Okay. It includes loving kindness meditations, breathing meditations, mindfulness meditations. All those meditations will help you to achieve a peaceful and a calm life. Okay. So, but remember this, to achieve a peaceful and calm life you have to focus on living a virtuous life, living a disciplined life. Keep that in your mind. So, let's move on to the third practice, and this is the final practice in Buddhist teachings that is called wisdom or pa in Buddhism. Now so many people think that knowledge is wisdom. Always remember, knowledge is a part of wisdom, but it is not the wisdom. Now Buddha explains that you must achieve wisdom from 3 means, from 3 types of wisdoms. The first type of wisdom is called sutamya. Sutam pa means the wisdom that is gained through learning. Okay. You can learn, you can read and you can listen to sermons, right? That is called the knowledge. Of course, wisdom has a part of knowledge. And also the second type of wisdom is called chintaya. Chintam pratna is the wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting. Okay. The wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting on what you have learned the reality of your life. When Buddha teaches about the reality of the life, when Buddha teaches about the impermanence and the reality of all the things, you have to wisely reflect on it. Okay? You have to think upon it. And once you think and once you wisely reflect on it, you gain the wisdom. You gain a deeper understanding. Okay? That is called Chintamina. The wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting. And also in the third type of wisdom, this is the most important type of wisdom that is called Bhavan Prana. The wisdom that is gained by practicing. Okay. Now the wisdom that is gained by practicing is supported by all those two wisdoms and prana. The wisdom that is gained by listening or learning and also the wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting. Now Buddha says when you learn and when you think and when you wisely reflect on it, then you can apply it to your practical life by doing meditations, by doing it practically. Okay. Many of the people believe that bhavana is only based on meditations. No, bhavana does not mean only the meditation. It gives the meaning of development or practicing. Okay. So you have to look, how can I apply these Buddhist teachings? How can I practice these things in my practical life? Once you do it, your wisdom will be developed. That is how you practice the wisdom in Buddhist teachings. So basically these are the three main practices in Buddhism. Sailor gives you the ethical and wholesome bodily and verbal conduct, and Samadhi will help you to develop a concentrated and a calmer and a peaceful mind, and Pra gives you a deeper and a wiser understanding about the reality and our existence and all the experiences that we go through in our life. Once you practice these three practices, you will be directed. Your life will be focused on liberation. Your mind will be well prepared for the liberation and to a deeper understanding about the life. So these are the three practices that we practice in Buddhism. Try to practice these things and try to apply it to your practical life. Wish you all happy and a peaceful life. Namaste. Have you ever wondered why some people are so good and so clever in what they are doing? Maybe there are some people who are studying with you. Maybe some people who are in your workspace. There are some people who are very clever and very capable of doing in their profession. Okay, they are very successful in it. What is the reason behind this? What is the reason behind this success? Well, if we can define success in one word, the only word that we can find is consistency. This quality is very important for all of our lives. Not only in your day-to-day life, not only in your career, but also in your spiritual path. Okay? If someone is practicing spiritual path, consistency is the key for success. Okay. Liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth will bring these insights to your daily life. Now, what do you mean by consistency? Consistency means doing something every single day or without stopping for a long period of time until you get better at it. Now, if you look at our life, there are some bad habits we all have in our life. Okay? Why we are so good at these bad things? The reason behind why we are so good at bad things is we have done it for a long period of time every single day without stopping. That is the nature of our mind, and that is the nature of our life. Whether it is good or bad, if you're doing it consistently or if you're doing it over and over for a long period of time, we get so good at it. That is why we are so good at distractions. That is why we are so good at anger, jealousy, and all these evil thoughts in our mind, because we have practiced it over a long period of time. Now Buddha said, if you need to cultivate wholesome thoughts, and if you need to be successful in your spiritual life, what are you going to do? You have to cultivate and you have to practice these wholesome thoughts or wholesome activities for a long period of time without stopping. Okay? Every single day. Okay? Let's keep the spiritual life for a part. Let's take the studying and education. Now, if you're someone who is studying and if you are someone who is focused on education, what do you have to do? You have to keep studying. Okay. Sometimes you find very difficult and very challenging to keep studying. Why? Because our mind gets distracted. Okay. Sometimes we lose our focus. Now in that time so many of people they complain that I cannot study. Okay. I'm distracting always. What is the reason? Why? What is the problem with me? Well, the only problem behind the failure or this unsuccessfulness is lack of consistency. Sometimes we try to study and then we feel tired and we feel less focused and then we give up. Okay? And then after maybe like 2-3 days again we try to study and then again the same thing happen and then we give up. Okay? In that way you're not going to be successful. Okay? If you want to be successful in any field of your life, maybe studying, maybe in your meditations, maybe in your spiritual life, maybe in kindness, maybe cultivating compassion in your life, what you have to do, you have to be consistent. That is the only way to be successful in anything. I can still remember when we came to become monks, okay? On the first day, our monks gave this first advice to us. That is, they said that it takes several minutes to become a monk physically. Okay? It takes a few minutes to make your body a monk. But it takes years and years, maybe lifetime, to be a monk from your mind. You will fail. You will be unsuccessful in some parts in your life. But you have to keep going. To not ever quit. That is the first advice that we were given. So to be good at anything, to be successful, to be happy, to be successful in your spiritual life, to practice meditations, to be good at that, in that what are you going to do? Keep doing it every single day. That is the thing. But there's a problem. The real problem or the real enemy for the consistency is the higher expectations. We set lot of high expectations in our life and when we are not able to get it, we give up. That is the only thing. Now so many people come to me and complain that I cannot meditate for 1 hour. What is the problem with me? I cannot focus for 1 hour. Well, in the beginning, no one can do that. Okay, there may be some few lucky people in this world. Okay, they can concentrate instantly. But if you want to be good at in your meditations, in your focusing and your concentration power, what do you want to do? Keep doing it. Okay? Do not set high expectations, right? Aim for the little achievements. Maybe like you can focus and you can think like before you are starting meditation you can think, well, if my mind became concentrated or well focused only for 1 minute, that's okay, I'm happy with that 1 minute. Okay, you had when you focus on that you can easily achieve it, you can do that. When you achieve it you feel a sense of happiness in your life, you feel like you achieved that target. So in next day when you meditate maybe you can focus your mind or you can concentrate your mind for 2 minutes. Okay. So if you keep on focusing on little achievements and without having high expectations in your life in the first time, then you will be good at maintaining your consistency, because sometimes when we don't see results, okay, when we don't get results quickly as we want, we just give up. That is the biggest problem in our minds. Okay. To be successful, you need to spend a period of time that you are not seeing the results. Okay. One day I was climbing and we in Sri Lanka we have a nice mountain where we climb to see the Buddha's fruit footprint. Okay. That is called Adams or the Sri Pada in Sri Lanka. So once we were climbing, we could not see the mountaintop. We don't know where we are going. Okay. So one monk said to me, it doesn't matter, you cannot see where you are going, but if you are clear in your next step, take that step. Okay. And if you're in the correct path, no matter how fast or slow you go, you will go to your destination that you want to go. So always remember that it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you are moving towards success. The most important thing is that whether you are going to do it every single day in the correct way or not. So remember, consistency is the key for success for anything. So keep doing what you're doing right, keep doing the good works that you're doing, even if you don't see the results in your life, keep doing it, and one day I'm very sure that you will achieve your goals, definitely. So keep that in your mind. May you be happy and well. Namuda, welcome and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about something really important for all of our lives, especially in these days, and that is the things that we should not speak with others according to Buddhist teachings. Now at first you might be thinking, well, I'm not a Buddhist, so why should I care about these things? Here's the thing. These principles can be applied to anyone's life regardless of their religion or belief system. So that is why these speeches are called 4 unwholesome speeches. That is what Buddha said about these speeches. 4 unwholesome speeches. So without any further ado, let's dive in. First of all, we have lying. Now Buddha said stay away from lying. Now I know we all have said wide lies here and there in all of our lives, right? But whether it is a white lie, whether it is a black lie, gray lie, or a red lie, no matter what the lie is, lying itself can be so harmful for all of our lives. Why is that? When you lie, it destroys your trust. When you lie, it destroys your character. Right? So that is why it is very important to have trust between people in our daily relationships between people. The most important component of a happy relationship is the trust. So that is why Buddha said live a truthful life, and it is very important to have that transparency and honesty in our relationships. So the first thing that we have to stay away from is lying. And next we have divisive speech. What do you mean by divisive speech? Divisive speech is all about creating drama between people or creating conflicts between people using your words. Right? It can be gossiping or it can be talking behind someone's back. Right? I might say that when you talk these words or when you use this divisive speech, it is not a good thing for your life. And also it is not a good thing for other people's relationships. So Buddha said do not use this divisive speech. Do not break the relationships between people using your words. Most of the time we use the divisive speech out of jealousy or out of anger. So that is why it's very important to stay away from divisive speech. And the third one is Buddha said stay away from harsh speech. Now when someone is calling you or when someone is treating you with rude words, how do you feel? Now we all have been in this receiving end of such speeches. Now how did you feel? We felt sad. We felt depressed. We felt down about ourselves. So that is why Buddha said do not use your words to put someone down. Right? Do not use your words out of anger. This is all about criticizing and name-calling and putting someone else down with your words. Right? So Buddha said stay away from harsh speech. Liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth will help you stay on the correct path. And finally Buddha said stay away from idle chatter. What do you mean by idle chatter? Idle chatter is all about speaking meaningless or useless things. Right? Now that doesn't say that we cannot have a small chat or a fun talk with people. We can do that. But we have to know where our limit is in our speech. Right? We have to set the boundaries in our speech. Right? We have to know where our speech become unproductive. Right? When you use these words, when you use your words in a meaningful way, you can create a positive life and you can create a positive emotions or positive feelings in others' lives too. Right? So these are the 4 unwholesome speeches that we have to stay away from that our great teacher Supreme Buddha taught us according to the Buddha's teachings. Right? So why all these things matter? Why these unwholesome speeches matter in our life? Well, Buddha said the words that we speak can create either positive or negative karma in our life. Do not think lightly about this karma. Right? You have to be very careful about the karma. So the intention behind your words really matters in your life. And that is why we have to use our words wisely, because it can make a huge impact in our lives as well as in others' lives too. So words that we speak are like a knife, right? You can use the knife to cut something useful, right? And also you can use the knife to kill someone else. So let's use our words to create a better life for ourselves and for others. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you got some food for thought for your life. So until next time, I wish you all, may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you live in peace forever. Nam Buddha. A king wanted to write down a quote on his sword to not to be too much happy when he wins and to not to be too much sad when he loses. Now this king found out that his mind gets too much obsessed when he wins and his mind gets too much obsessed when he defeats. Liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth will bring you closer to Buddha and Nirvana. So he gave this job to write down a quoting on his sword to his mentor. So the mentor thought for a while and he simply wrote down these amazing 4 words on his sword. It said, "This too shall pass." I'll repeat it again. This too shall pass. See, when we live in this world there are worldly conditions that we have to experience in this world. The Buddha named these worldly conditions as 8 worldly conditions. In Duty Loka the Buddha explains this, that because the whole world revolves around 8 worldly conditions and the 8 worldly conditions revolves around this world. What are these 8 worldly conditions? The Buddha explains that gain and loss is a worldly condition and praise and blame is a worldly condition and fame and disgrace is a worldly condition and pleasure and pain is a worldly condition. So these are the worldly conditions that we go through and we experience in all of our lives. Now the problem is not having to go through these all worldly conditions. The problem behind this is our minds get too much obsessed with these worldly conditions. When we win, our minds get too much attached to it and we forget that this victory won't last forever. And when we lose and when we defeat, when we fall down, our minds get too much obsessed with that defeat and we think that this defeat, this sadness, this suffering will last forever. But in reality all good things come to an end, and as well as all bad things come to an end. Nothing lasts forever. So how can we live by not being attached to this winning and losing and not being attached to any kind of these worldly conditions? Now Buddha shows us the way to not to be attached to any kind of these things. The way to do that is to simply understand the nature of all these conditions. What is the nature? The nature of all the worldly conditions is they are subjected to change. Right? When you win, it is subjected to change. When you lose, it is subjected to change and it is impermanent. Simply you can remind it to yourself that this too shall pass. Okay? When you hit the rock bottom, when you go through problems, when you go through difficulties in your life, just remember to yourself that this too shall pass. This pain, this suffering too shall pass. And when you win and when you're happy and when everyone cheers for you around you, always remember to yourself that this is not going to last forever. This too shall pass. There is one of my favorite quotes that I read recently. It says, "When you win, you are not good as you think you are. And when you lose, you are not bad as you think you are. So when you win, everyone will cheer to you. Everyone will congratulate you. Everyone will say good things about you. But always remember, you are a man. You are a human. You are imperfect. And everything is subjected to change. Now this does not say that you should not enjoy winning. You should not enjoy victory. You can enjoy victory. You can be happy about it. But simply understand this winning, this victory won't last forever. And when you lose, you have to remember to yourself that you are not bad as you think you are. You can learn from your mistakes. You can learn from your fails. And you can always improve yourself and always think that this is not going to last forever. This pain is not going to last forever. By simply understanding that everything is subjected to change. Nothing is permanent in life will help you to achieve a happier and more fulfilling life by not being attached to any kind of these extremes. Liking and subscribing is key to unlocking these important insights. When you win, do not be too much attached to it. And when you lose, do not be too much attached to it. Then you will be happy. Imagine you're having a rough day and you're scrolling through social media and you see these nice pictures. People are celebrating their life, having the best days in their life, celebrating and becoming happy. When you see these pictures, what do you feel inside? Sometimes we feel even more stressed and we feel like there's no value in our life. One of the biggest enemies of our happiness is comparing our life with others' lives. There is some sort of jealousy and envy that builds up in our life, in our mind. That is why becoming envious and jealousy and comparing our lives to others is one of the biggest enemies of our happiness. To overcome this, the Buddha introduced a special practice, and that is called mudita. Mudita means appreciative joyfulness. Always remember, when we compare our lives to others and when you build up that jealousy and envy within yourself, it is not going to help in your success in your life. Right? Sometimes we stop in a certain place. Okay? We hold on to one emotion and we stay in that envy and in jealousy and thinking about other people's lives without making our life successful, without focusing on our life. So the Buddha said, when you see these successful people in the society, when people around you living the best days in their life and your life is not having such experience, always look up to them and think and wish the happiness of them. Okay, that is called appreciative joyfulness. Wish the happiness of beings around you even though you are going through a tough time. When we see successful people, we should not be jealous at them. It is not going to help us. What we have to do, we have to wish the success on them. When you see someone is having the best days in their life, think of him and say, "Oh, may he be happy even more. May he have a prosperous and a happy life forever." If you do that, you're not going to give the space for that envy and unhappiness and that negativity in your mind. The more you practice this positive mindset, the more you practice this appreciative joyfulness, you can be happy about yourself even on the hard days, even though your life is in a tough place. So that is why whenever we see successful people having a happy life, we have to wish the happiness of them. That is called mudita. So when we practice this simple Buddhist practice of mudita or appreciative joyfulness, we can be happy about our life and also we can be peaceful within. If there is one thing in common in this world that all living beings search for, that is the happiness. We all like to be happy. We all seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state. I need to be in that. That is your answer. Liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth will let these practices fill your life. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy and they seek the happiest. If you really think about our life, we are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again. We are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we are pursuing happiness. We are chasing and we are seeking for happiness. But yet we have not found it. So what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We are seeking it. We are finding for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we are finding or we are seeking this happiness from a source that the happiness does not exist. Because we are seeking happiness from external world. We are seeking happiness from this materialistic things. Well, when you seek happiness from materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure. But that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification. But in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the contentment about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you're finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answers this question. He says yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dhammapada, Buddha says, if one with an impure mind speaks or acts, the suffering will follows him like a cart will following the ox. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse Buddha says if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pure, we can